My subject today, I want to talk about, that's really been on my mind. It's been on my mind for years, but I want to propose a question to you. Are you shackled? Are you shackled in your life? Are you shackled in your home? Are you shackled at your job? Are you shackled in your ministry? What is shackling you? Oh, maybe it's not, they're not shackling you. Maybe you're shackling yourself. Maybe it's voluntarily. Maybe it's a safe place that you like being at. I don't know. But according to the definition research, to be shackled means to be restrained and restricted, limited, constrained, handicapped, hampered, hindered, impede. It's a whole list of them: obstruct, inhibit, checked, or curbed. So what are you? Are you being checked every time you try to reach out and be the person that God has called you to be? Are you being curbed, set on the sideline and told to wait over here? Are you feeling or actually shackled? Maybe you're just feeling like you are because you just don't want to step out and do what you really feel like that you need to be doing, or know that God has called you to do, the passion that you have. Maybe it's your feelings of insecurity that's doing it. Or maybe you're actually shackled by people within your ministry, your home, family, job. I don't know. But these are questions I know you might be asking yourself, because many times during my life, I ask myself that. And even right now, you be saying, what is she really talking about? Or who am I talking to? Or why is this relevant to you right now that's listening in? Well, let me start with me. Because everybody has a story, and we can always start with ourselves. There was some 30 some years ago, as a young minister, I was led to believe that I needed, or I must have, pre-recognition or validation of my gifts and callings by people that held superior title holders. There was times that I used to be called the crying minister, because every time I'd go into church, nothing that I did was right. Because I used to wear my hair in cornrows, as they called them back then, braids, as they do now, and dreads, and the little bumpers or bubbles or different hairstyles that they doing now. I used to wear my hair like that. I'd just look in the mirror one day and just decide on a hairstyle, and that's what I would go with. But my hair had always been natural during that time. And I would be told that I need to go and perm my hair and, do this, do that, dress like this, walk like that, stand like this, that I was not preacher material. I didn't look like a preacher. And it had me crying every Sunday. Every time I came into their presence, I was constantly crying, But it was not clear. Then it was not authorized. Why did they feel like they had to authorize my servitude to and for God's people? Most of the time it was delayed or thrown in. Other times they just would not ordain me, because I didn't look like a preacher. I didn't walk like a preacher. I didn't talk like a preacher. And then it made me doubt, about, well, what does preacherhood talk like? The people that call is God is called to be preachers. What do they look like? Or do all of them look alike? Or did he create a mold? I was young, and it put a lot of different thoughts in my mind. And I know it put a lot of thoughts into y'all mind too, But I had to research, And I looked in Proverbs, the 18th chapter and the 16th verse, and it read, "A man's gifts makes room for him and bring him before great men." Well, I didn't feel like my gifts was making room for me, and I sure didn't feel like it, that it was bringing me before great men. Yeah, it was bringing me before great men, but shoes. The great men weren't acting very great and godly like, as far as what was supposed to be godly like, So a lot of times, many of you even, went through the same thing I have within your families, not being accepted for who you are, who God created you to be, or putting labels or put on you, that just isn't you, and you're looking around like, who are they talking about? Because that's not me. But you can be told certain things, negative things, over and over again so many times until you really start second guessing who you are as a person. And shoot, you might even be thinking that maybe that is me, But I was trusting the authority of God, and it led me to rooms of opportunity to work in the vineyard, when I start not accepting what others wanted me to be, or this box that they wanted to put me in, some of which the opportunity to open up to me, that I started ministering in housing projects and street ministry and nursing homes. I even ministered in crack houses, houses of ill repute, and ecumenical service before it was popular even to be ecumenical. Now everything ecumenical is the thing. Denominations are visiting with each other. When once upon a time, when I was first coming up in the ministry, the Baptists was against the Pentecostals, and the Pentecostals thought they were the only ones. And then there were those that called themselves apostolic, not Pentecostal. It was just crazy. Church of God in Christ, but Church of God in Christ and the apostolic, they've always kind of socialized a little bit, But everybody was trying to be the denomination that was going to get to heaven. And if you wasn't in that denomination, you weren't going to get to heaven. But where I've been there and done that, and all of which could have been served by waiting in the pulpit for a chance, I would not have had those opportunities. But, there's the testimonies that you can hear today. I can tell you some things, and everybody has a story. And all the stories, don't necessarily have to be negative stories. They can be positive stories. But I think I've had my share of each. A lot of negative stories that's a testimony unto what makes me who I am today. And then there's the testimonies of positivity that kept me pushing and pressing toward the mark of the Most High calling of God. But it has taken me a long time to get here through insecurities, feeling not worthy. And I know many of you have probably felt the same thing, not feeling worthy of even being in some families. There's been times that I woke up and said, Lord, am I born in the right family? I don't know. Because I felt so out of place a lot of times and not accepted for just being who I am, criticized for everything, And then you get into ministry, and which is supposed to be in the presence of God, and then the same things that tore down your self-esteem in the home is the same thing you face in the world and in your ministries. You might face the same thing on your job. The more you struggle to be the best, to do everything your supervisors tell you to do, and you look around and it still isn't good enough. That's enough to really tear you down. But you have to have strong faith and, and have a sure foundation, because this world is not your friend. This world will have you try putting so many different boxes, and none of the boxes will fit. So that's why I asked the question, are you shackled by labels such as titles, denominations, different leaderships, ministries, even groups, and also your family and friends? But, there's a thing that you could be shackled voluntarily. Maybe that's a safe haven to you. It's just like being in a domestic violence situation. You get so accustomed to the domestic violence situation until you don't want to leave that, because that becomes security to you. And so you stay in that situation, no matter how negative it is. You stay in that situation because, you don't know what's outside that wall, or what's outside that box, or what's on the other side of that door. At least you know what to expect where you are. But neither one of those are a good place to be. It's not a good place to be, because you're limiting yourself to the possibilities of being the best that you can be. You can be the best that you can be by getting outside the box that other people are putting you in. Being true to who you are, be the best person that you are. Be the best in the situation that you are in, and always strive to be better. That's the thing about it. We always have to strive to be better. We always, we have a tendency to beat ourselves up harder than the other people that are beating us up, because we buy in to all those situations and all those titles that they put on you and all the situations they put on you, even when you know it don't fit. That's just like somebody going and buying you, say, oh, I know what looks good on you. And they go buy your outfit and you put it on and you look terrible in it. Matter of fact, it doesn't even fit you properly. And they're steady looking at it saying, yeah, that's good. That's good. You need to wear that. that looks good on you, and you're looking in the same mirror that they're looking in, and you seeing that it's hanging too long or it's too big, it's just crazy. It's just like David and Goliath. When David went out there to give his brothers some provisions, and he ended up against Goliath, and they wanted to put all these their helmets on him. They wanted to put their gear on him, so to speak. And he was like, none of this stuff fits. This is not me. Just think if he had tried to fight Goliath with that stuff on. Goliath would still be standing, although there's still some Goliaths in our lives today, but David's Goliath would have still been here and his head wouldn't have been cut off. If David had tried to fit those that gear, so to speak, that his brothers and the other people was trying to put on him. But he said, "No, I know what to do, because what's familiar to me is just this little slingshot and fix me up some pebbles, and I can handle this, but I can't handle all that shields and helmets and all that kind of stuff." So David had to be himself in order to defeat the Goliath. And we have to be ourselves in order to beat the Goliaths in our lives. That's simple as that. You can't fight Goliaths in your life, in your home, in your church, your ministry, being somebody else. Because God did not create you to be somebody else. He created you to be you. So your gifts can create and make rooms for you if it is being used, if it is not being used, or if it's used actively. Then there's room and there's opportunity of purpose. It's there, but you'll lose that opportunity and the purpose. And I am guilty of that because I have tried to fit in everybody else's mode. People have always said, yeah, you left when I needed you, but were you there when I needed you? Who's going to be there when you have a need? If you're always being there for somebody else's need, but no one is there for your need. When it's your turn and you have a need, nobody's there. Or they want to put you in this box that still is fitting their need. It's not fitting your need. It's fitting their need. So you're continuously being subservient, And I don't think that's love. Nobody can say they love you if they're trying to take you out of who you are and put you in a place that you're not supposed to be, or in a position you're not supposed to be, saying that they need you. It's not supposed to be like that. That's not the way it's supposed to be. But people be quick to say, I need you here. But do I need to be there? That's the question. You need me to be there, but do I need to be there? That is the question that we have to ask ourselves. So sometimes involuntarily we just go along with it. So some of the shackles that in our lives are so totally voluntarily, shoes. We just put ourselves there because we don't want to ruffle any feathers. We don't want to seem like that we're causing trouble, but if the shoe don't fit, don't wear it, because it's not your shoe. Somebody can be in the same size shoe, can wear the same size shoe that you wear, and but their path is going to be different, because you might walk different. You might be bow-legged. They're not bow-legged. They might be slew-footed. You're not slew-footed. So even if you wear the same size, you can't wear the same shoe. You can't walk the same path. They might have a high arch and you're flat-footed. Their shoes will not be comfortable on you, just as your shoes will not be comfortable on them. So you can't, you got to walk your own lane and you got to talk your talk, because when you were born, God gave you a talk. He gave you a walk. He put the passion in your breath, from the time that you were created. That little seed, that was planted inside your mama's womb. When that seed was planted there, it had all of the DNA to make you successful. But we're shackled most of the time voluntarily, because we do not accept ourselves through self-esteem, and we buy into what everybody says, even from a little kid, what we're going to be looking at. Oh, yeah, that's my little lawyer. Oh, yeah, and we plant those kind of seeds, and he might not be a lawyer. He might be a classical pianist or a dancer, an artist, Oh, that's going to be my doctor right there, because they show so much compassion. You can show compassion in other activities, but those seeds get planted into you, and you buy into it, and then you're miserable for the rest of your life because you don't feel it. but you're still trying to please. So I think most of the time that we're shackled voluntarily. That's what I think. I think we're shackled voluntarily in our lives. You know, God has called and chose whom he desires according to his purpose. He is the ultimate authority. Because I've read in Romans 8 and 30 that moreover, whom he did predestinate, then he also called. And whom he called, then he also justified. And when he justified them, he also glorified. So you don't have anybody to approve what it is that you do but God. We go through it, like I talk about, shackles of jealousy and low self-esteem and unauthorized lordship could lead toward killing your purpose. Whom God chooses, he equips. He provides, he enables, and he qualifies. So you know what you're equipped to do. You need to do it. You know, if you're an artist, be the best artist you can be. If you're a dancer, be the best dancer you can be. If you're a lawyer, be the best lawyer you can be. If you're an author, be an author, the best author you can be. If you are in drama, an artist or an actress, be the best that you can be. And know that that's what you're supposed to be in life, if that's what you're supposed to be. That passion that's inside of you, that dream, you know, it make no mistake. It was no mistake because God don't make mistakes. You know, our mistake is allowing human that does not have the wisdom of God to tell you and dictate to you who you are supposed to be, how you're supposed to say it, how you're supposed to stand. You know, now I'm not saying that there aren't things that can be critiqued or that other people might know. But when it comes to that yearning inside of you that God has given you, that you know this isn't right, that you know this isn't you, and if it tears down your self-esteem about who you are, then you know whoever is telling you that or whoever's trying to put you in that box, that is not right. You got to follow that gut that God has given you, that spiritual endowment. And then go to God for wisdom, you know, and ask him, because God is not going to lead you astray. He just won't. Some of us are scared of authority, you know, and so we're discouraged. But authority can be used as a tactic against you if those person that's in authority allows the enemy to dwell within them against you. That's just simple as that. So you have to, you have to be accountable to God and take what God has given you and release yourself to him. You know, sometimes it is haunting people that are prestige within the pulpit ministry, robbing you of your fully realized purpose or your gift. Well, you got to unshackle that while waiting. Unshackle yourself from anything that separates you from who you are and your purpose in life. But as you are laboring, to find out what your purpose is, 2 Timothy 2 and 6:15 says, study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that need not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Rightly divide the word of truth. Study with your craft that you feel like that's what you're supposed to be or who you're supposed to be, and be the best at it. But you can't be the best at it unless you study it. Some people are endowed with natural gifts that they can just walk on the baseball field or football field or whatever, and act like they've been playing all their lives, or they've been studying it, and they weren't. That's just gifts that comes once in a lifetime. To people that have that innate gift, But there's some of us that have to work at it. We have to study it. You know who you are supposed to be. You know what you're supposed to do in life, but you have to study and show yourself approved, a workman that needed not be ashamed. The world is waiting. People are crying in the wilderness and they seeking hope. And there are many available avenues to reach out to the hurting people, you included. There are many avenues. Self-evaluation, self-care. I'm not talking about being selfish. I'm talking about self-care. Take care of yourself. Use every method available to take care of yourself and be the person that God has called you to be. Because you got to go out and you got to sow seeds. Sow seeds in yourself, sow seeds in everybody. And in the end of it, by faith, we know that God will give the increase according to his plan and purpose. But you got to give God the glory at the end of it, because he's the one that created you. He is the maker and creator of all heaven and earth. So I'm just going to put it out there like that. Are you shackled? If you are, is it a voluntary shackle? Or is it something that's been put on you because you've been beaten down through self-esteem and mental anguish or abuse, that makes you feel you're not worthy of even being the person that you've called to be? So we got to check all those type of things out and see if it's everything that God wants you to be, because you cannot be who God does not want you to be. Simple as that. If you do try to be that God does not want you to be or has a purpose in your life, you won't be successful. You'll still be kicking that dust, just kicking the dust, just kicking the dust. So all I want to say is ask you that question. Are you shackled? And if you are shackled, is it voluntary or not? Comment on this podcast and let me know. What are you waiting for? God has already favored you. Are you shackled voluntarily or not? I'm Reverend Rene'e Ellis. I'm out. Talk to me.